That's why that's one of the big parts of my program is that you don't need a diagnosis no matter where you are. If you just want a little boost, or if there's something really happening at home, you're like, this is just a really hard time of day. And then some families are not ready for a diagnosis. They're not ready to go down that route at all. And they just need a safe place to land. And one of my clients was so nice enough to give me a testimonial that said, it's a safe, non-judgmental place to land. Having a child with unique needs is hard. And I don't want to feel like judged that, am I doing enough if I'm not going to all these different therapies? And when I can do it in my home, I feel a little bit more comfortable.
Hey there, and welcome to the Speechie Side Up podcast. My name is Vanita Litvack, and I am so grateful you're here. I'm an ASHA certified speech language pathologist, author, and augmentative and alternative communication consultant who is obsessed with helping SLPs like you stop reinventing the wheel and connect with other SLPs in the trenches. Have you ever wondered how other SLPs seem to be doing it all with ease? Well, around here, you'll get to hear firsthand how SLPs are really getting things done while keeping evidence-based practice and self-care in mind. Think of this as a coffee date with your SLP friends. Get ready to be challenged and encouraged while we learn together. Today, I'm joined by Gina Russell, the dedicated owner of Tiny Sparks LLC, a private coaching and consulting service aimed at supporting parents and professionals of young children of all abilities reach their full potential. With a background as an early childhood special education specialist, Gina brings a wealth of experience and a heartfelt commitment to her work. Gina specializes in teaching essential skills such as early language and learning development, play skills, pre-academic skills, and more to children between 16 months and 5 years old. She is committed to being on the front line of your child's development. In addition to her coaching services, Gina also offers consulting services for customized communication materials, language learning plans, and subsequent implementation training. She understands that effective communication is crucial for a child's overall development, and she works closely with families, staff, and related professionals to create tailored materials and plans that support learning and language development in a personalized way. Furthermore, Gina provides comprehensive training to ensure successful implementation of these strategies for family, staff, and professionals. Gina, thank you so much for coming today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast.
Does that cover everything, or is there anything else you'd like to mention before we talk about virtual coaching and your business?
No, I think that covers it pretty well. Thank you.
Amazing. Okay, so why did you start Tiny Sparks?
So this is such a special question because I just love what Tiny Sparks currently represents. And I can only imagine hopefully what it'll grow to be. I named it Tiny Sparks. I work with, I always say tiny humans with the little ones. And then I always felt like over time, there's all these little sparks that grow to be this maybe big moment. Like most parents may be like, all of a sudden, oh my gosh, she said the word ball or something, but it's been an accumulation of all these sparks over time. So that's why I named it Tiny Sparks. And
I
I
love that.
started it because I noticed, thank you, that online, mostly in the beginning, I am part of a lot of different social media groups. And I was just seeing so many parents commenting on social media on sites that I need help and I'm on a waiting list. And what can I do in the meantime? Or I've read this, but I don't know how it applies to my child. And I want to make sure people have the opportunity to get the help that they need. And especially in our specific area too, we don't have a lot of services privately. A lot of parents have to drive 2-3 hours for specialty services. So if I could just offer them some help in between, at least to get them going, that was the main goal for Tiny Sparks. And then I also had a lot of parents that I'd worked with in the past with my other job with infants and toddlers. And some of them were like, do you do any more coaching or consulting on the side? We want to continue this, or where else can I get services? And I just kind of wanted to be another resource and guide for parents, because I'm sure you know what it's like too. Like you go online and there's just so much that hits you at one time and you're like, what about my kid? Like, where do I go with my child? And that's kind of where I wanted to go with Tiny Sparks.
That's great. So you're like helping to fill that gap for parents that are on wait lists.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if I'm not a right fit for them, maybe I can at least guide them somewhere else and help them on that path, because I know it's overwhelming.
Yeah, totally. It's
Yeah.
nice for families to have somebody in their corner. And I think as an early childhood special education professional, you have exposure to all of the different disciplines and can point parents in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Mhm. So, what do you offer? Like, what does Tiny Sparks offer?
So I've kind of molded it to what I'm seeing happening out there and what people really want. Right now, my main focus is the customized support for both parents and professionals. I mainly work with parents right now and families. And like you mentioned in before in my bio, that I am like my niche is like that 16 months to 5 years old range. And the type of skills that I look at are communication and language type support. So if a family needs visual supports at home, I can make that for them. Or if they need me to point them in a direction of just say like a gestalt language SLP like yourself, I know those types of resources. I can help point them in that direction. I love working on basic learner skills, so the skills that you need in order to learn other types of like play and academic. I have a lot of families that say my child doesn't really yet notice I'm even in the room, or they don't seem to play with the toys that I have in my home. Like, what can I do with that so I can work on play? So the two main ways that you can work with me is that I offer a 1 hour consultation and ongoing customized packages. But I always like to offer a complimentary 20-minute phone call first, just to see if I'm the right fit for you. I don't want to have anyone invest in any type of program if it's not even the right program for them, if that makes sense. So yeah, if you're not in the age range, or maybe you're looking for specific behavior help, I would point you maybe in a different direction.
So, what does your consultation process look like from like start to finish? Because you mentioned the consultation call. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my favorite ones. I feel like it's a good place to start if a parent is like, I don't really know if I want to invest, or I don't even know how much help I need. So what you do is first we'll do that 20-minute complimentary phone call and we'll chat about I send like a pre-questionnaire first, and you fill out just a couple simple questions so I can get a good idea of where your family is and what you're looking for. And then we'll chat on the phone for that 20 minutes, and I'll let you know what I offer, and we'll just chat about your child and what you're thinking about. And during the 1 hour consultation, what it includes is, and if you go ahead with it, it's an hour virtual parent coaching session on a main priority. So if you're like, we really struggle during meal times and I don't know what my child wants, or during play, I really don't know what to do with him or her, or I really want to focus on reading books and they're not engaged. What can we do about it? So we'll kind of look at one specific goal. And even though a lot of these goals are pretty big, or maybe they're going to take longer than an hour, I can at least get you some strategies to meet your goal. And then I will give you one customized print at home resource to take with you. So, for example, if you were talking about meal times and you wanted specific visuals for that, I can make you a small board, or maybe it's an airless book. It just depends on what you're looking for. And then I can always follow up with some questions with you about how to implement that resource in your home. But I want parents to come to the call with their questions. I'll have a mapped out little strategy, and I want you to be able to walk away with actual concrete things that you can use and in that moment when you leave that call.
I love that. I was just talking to a friend of mine who has like a successful private practice. She's been running it for a few years now. And we were talking about her consultation process, and she does the call. She also does one in person. And
Oh,
I think that that's probably the route that I'm going to start to go, because I just had this situation with a prospective new client. And when I met them in person, like it was going to be a session that I was going to charge for. But in the end, I just felt like it wasn't a good fit at all. And I
mhm.
decided to let them know that it was like an in-person consultation. I didn't charge them for the session. And I explained why and gave them resources and references for other speech language pathologists. But I think that's definitely what I'm going to do going forward, because I think that you have to kind of get to know somebody before you
Yeah,
like can commit to a long-term relationship, right? It's
right.
almost like dating that client.
Right, exactly. I think that's a great idea, especially like you're saying, you don't want to show up and then just be like, oh, it's actually not maybe
Right.
exactly my wheelhouse, or someone else can offer better for you. So I like
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah, and it probably looks different for, like, different practices. Like, I'm one person, you're probably one person right now,
Yeah.
but if you have a larger practice where you have other professionals within it that you could refer to within your practice, then you might not have to refer out, but in this case, like as someone who's just starting out, that is the process I'm going to adopt.
I love that. That's a great idea. Like I said, the 1 hour consult are just like a great place to start if someone's just like, I just don't know. Or again, I'll get into this more probably later about diagnosis and everything like that. Like, I just take families where they are and we just go from there. And it's just a great little step to start. And once you do the 1 hour virtual session, if you're like, oh, I really just want to have another session with you. Once I've done that 1 hour consult and I've looked over your information, I can go ahead and do those, or we can do a more in-depth, like ongoing support package, which is the other option.
Mhm. I feel like you are working in both sides of the spectrum here. Like you are working for the service that's provided by Maryland, right?
Mhm.
In early
Yes.
intervention. And then you're kind of
Yes.
providing the same service as a private practice or like coaching and consulting business. Do you
Mhm.
see the benefits of doing it in your private practice versus like the free version that parents get?
Definitely, and I feel like the free services vary wherever you are, so that's why I can branch out of Maryland because it's just a coaching model, an educational type model, and I feel like during the day when I work with infants and toddlers, like, that's great for those families, and sometimes if they're in my actual county area, I always refer back to infants and toddlers. I'm like, "Do you know about this, early childhood program that is available that people can come into your homes, with?" And I have been able to refer some local people back into the program, which has been awesome. And then sometimes people from out of state call me. I've actually had a family move from Maryland to North Carolina, and I still work with them, which has been awesome. And we do these check-in sessions now that we've worked together for so long. So, and I feel like again, it just depends on who you get as providers, but I'm able to go back and really customize what a family needs. So it really depends on your area.
Yeah, no, I love that. I'm the same way. Like if a family contacts me for early intervention, I always tell them about we have early steps in the state of Florida. I always
Okay.
tell them about early steps, but sometimes they've already gone that route and they weren't happy with it, or they want to supplement it with this private service as well because I think they feel like you get what you pay for and you'll get better service if you're paying for something. So, yeah, I like how you're navigating both of those.
Yeah, and I like how you said that about that too. Sometimes kids don't qualify for early intervention and the parents still like, "Well, I still want help and I
Right.
still want to get what my child needs." So that's why that's one of the big parts of my program is that you don't need a diagnosis no matter where you are. If you just want a little boost or if there's something really happening at home, you're like, "This is just a really hard time of day." And then some families are not ready for a diagnosis. They're not ready to go down that route at all. And they just need a safe place to land. And one of my clients was so nice enough to give me a testimonial that said, it's a safe, non judgmental place to land. Having a child with unique needs is hard. And I don't want to feel like judged that, am I doing enough if I'm not going to all these different therapies? And when I can do it in my home, I feel a little bit more comfortable. So that's
I
been
love
a
that.
point. Yeah.
To me, you're like their like liaison. Like you
Yeah.
are their like educational consultant. Really, like you're advising them of all of the options that are available and guiding them in the right direction, but you're that safe and consistent place for them to keep coming back to cuz I I hate the amount of turnover that we have, at least in our field of speech language pathology, that interrupts that consistency for families. Like, I remember this family that I'm with, I've been with them for over 2 years now. They specifically asked, "Are you in it for the long run? Like, we wanna pick a speech language pathologist who's gonna, like, grow with our child over time." And I was
Right.
so hesitant to, like, agree to that because working for other people, I will leave if I'm not happy there, but because this is my own practice, I felt
Right.
confident in saying if we're a good match for each other and then we can continue to work for a long period of time. And this is definitely the longest I've ever worked with a client, surprisingly. And I just found out, you probably saw I shared it, that they had 7 speech therapists before me.
That's
7,
a
and the
lot.
child was only 3.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that was news to me, and so I like what you're doing because I think that parents need that so badly. They need someone that they can trust, and they need someone that's gonna point them in the right direction, and they need someone that's going to be like a shoulder to lean on in that
right,
process.
right, exactly, and there's so much out there, and I'm in the end, I'm like, we're working with humans. I just want to help, like whatever
Yeah.
capacity that is. Like, it kills me when I see parents waiting and waiting and waiting. And I just see this time slipping by when I could at least do something in the meantime. Whether you choose to work with me
Mhm.
ongoing or not, or I just see you for that hour, I just want to help at least so much of what I can do.
Yeah. No, that's great. And people can feel like however they want to feel about a non-speech language pathologist like consulting on these type of topics, but it sounds like you're coming from a good place. Like you're coming
Right.
from a place where you want to help families and like guide them in the right direction. And it's no different than someone being an advocate for a family.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
And in the school system, I was a classroom special education teacher for over like 12 years. We worked on all these things, communication and OT. And so it's not making specific type goals in that way or anything like that, or going outside like a scope. And I will get to announce that I get to partner with someone really amazing later. But yeah, it's just nice to be able to at least point them in a good direction if we're not the right fit. That's why that 20-minute consultation, the complementary is so important to me, because if they have a child who might need eye gaze or something really actual communication, I'm like, oh, here, I'm going to point you in a direction of some other resources, because that's not within my licensing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you're not doing the assessments, you're not
Right.
writing the goals, you're just providing the strategies.
Right, exactly, exactly. And that's what, like, after that thought, if you want to do that, or I have those, I call them ongoing support packages, because those are for families that once we get involved, and I know you see this in your practice too, you realize how many materials they might want. Like they may want a lot of adapted books, or they may want a lot of specific learning materials, or they want more time with me to like look over their home with them. I mean, I've literally had parents carry me around with their phone and like take me to their playroom, and they're like, well, how could I use what I already have? And we go through like how they can adapt like the materials already, their puzzle all the way in their home. So within that packages, I just have some packages that include a certain amount of materials and a certain amount of virtual coaching sessions. And then they just increase. So that way, just in case you want to just do it upfront and you don't want any like extra costs, it's already kind of like packaged for you. But then again, like I said, you can just do individual sessions as well. So
I love what you're doing, and I feel like it should give a lot like, it's giving me some ideas on how I can expand my
good.
own practice, and I think it should be giving other SLPs some ideas as well, because I think it's really hard to conceptualize, like, well, I'm not licensed in another state, and like, what does coaching look like? And how can I help families like get off those not get off the wait list, but help them in the time that they're on those wait lists. And
Right.
it's making so much sense, like the way you're
Right.
explaining it. So, what is virtual coaching and what is the style that you use?
So I do the virtual coaching obviously so I can really reach as many people across the United States as possible. You don't have to be in Maryland to work with me. And I kind of was hesitant when I first started, because I was like, no one's going to want to do virtual after COVID and like teletherapy. And I did that with infants and toddlers. That's how I started off in infants and toddlers, was teletherapy, and it was very difficult. However, I feel like, again, if you're looking for these types of services, you're going to commit to making sure that you have a phone that works, or iPad or something that can help facilitate a session. And then again, I'm in their environment and I can see what their playroom looks like, or what does the mealtime really look like, or all those things. And then they don't have to leave, or if they're having a really hard week, they know they can just hop on the computer with me. And sometimes I call it like a counseling session. We just talk. And some parents are just like, they need to talk about everything that's been happening and like what they've been trying, and like this hasn't been working. So it's just another option. Some people are not about the computer, and then those are the people that will go towards another type of practice, and that's great, but it's also there in the meantime. And I did do some in-home, but with traveling and everything, it really increased how much was being charged. And so it was just I went back to just doing virtual at that point to see if that would work. And it did.
How are you finding your clients?
A lot of word of mouth. And then I'm trying to get better with social media, but I feel it is such a beast. And I feel like I cannot keep up with what people look for in social media, like all the fun reels and stories. And I feel like I just am doing the best that I can with working full time and then tiny sparks in the evening. My social media tends to get a little bit towards the side, but It's mostly been word of mouth. And then I'm working on like my Google and my website and just bumping that up and trying to figure out all those SEOs and Google business and everything, just see if people can find me online as well. So I'm busy enough where I haven't had time to find different avenues of going around. And then again, if someone's local to my area, if they're already in like our program, I'm not going to work with them, but I can refer them to someone else. But I can work with outside our county.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like the same for me. It's been like word of mouth and actually the meaningful speech registry too. Have you looked into did you do that course?
I did. I haven't finished
Okay.
all of my course, but yes, I took that course and I think it's like incredible. And I trained underneath of Jessie Ginsburg and her sensory course as well. I took her 6-month course. So I think they're starting a registry on there. Again, I'm a special education consultant coach. So I hope I can be on that registry still. I know it's speech and language mostly, but I did complete the course with them.
Okay. Yeah, you should definitely ask her and see if like
Yeah.
that's possible because it is a good referral source for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to you would think it would be so easy to do online, but it really is a beast. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I did a lot of it while getting my nails done. So if
Yeah.
you ever are doing something like that, maybe try that. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
nails like take so long. I was like, this is the perfect time to get through these modules.
Yes.
Well, this has been so insightful and I just love what you're doing. Is there anything else you want to share before we finish up today?
No, just if you know of anybody, and like I said, I'm here just to help if someone just like wants to send me an email or do the complimentary call. I'm happy to I just want to help people. So I'm just happy to chat on the phone and get people started in the right direction. And you don't need a diagnosis to work with me again. So I'm here for a resource for sure.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Gina. This is such a pleasure. We've like communicated for such a long time, so I'm so glad we got to finally talk in person.
You too. And shout out to Vanita while I'm on here because she helped me in the very beginning when I was looking at contracts before I went to go see an attorney, and she's amazing. So I want to thank you too for your platform and helping others get started because you certainly did help me.
Well, I'm happy to help and now like knowing you in person, I feel even better about that time spent because I know that you are spreading it far and wide and making a big impact in your community. So that means everything.
Thank you. It's been fun being here today.
All right, until next time. Thank you so much for listening. By the way, have you joined the SSU crew yet? By joining, you get access to the free good section on our website, plus podcast updates, special event notifications, and therapy inspiration. You can sign up at bit.ly/join SSU crew, all lowercase, or just find the link in this episode description. Also, don't forget to take a screenshot of this episode so that you can always refer back to it and share it on social media if you really love the topic. Take care and remember to always fill your speechy side cup first before you can pour into others.